Welcome one and all to another edition of the Defo Show with Luby here on the 5 Reasons Sports Network, brought to you by Water Cleanup of Florida. The weather is always fun here in South Florida, and that does interesting things to our homes and our offices. No worries. You have Water Cleanup of Florida. Whether it's water issues or fire issues, they are in your corner. It's easy. Just call them 954-579-0356. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. 954-579-0356. I say it every single time I talk about Water Cleanup of Florida, and I will keep saying it. The fact that they have licensed, insured, certified contractors makes a world of difference, because not only they get the job done, but they make it look brand new. You who had the issue will have trouble finding what was wrong at your house when Water Cleanup of Florida has done their job. 954-579-0356, WCUFL.com. At Water Cleanup FL on all the socials. Check them out on Google. Well over 85-star reviews. Believe me, if you have the schmutz, they have the guts. Water Cleanup of Florida. Alrighty, the Miami Dolphins have been full of lots of guts this season, and they started with a lot of schmutz on Sunday. But by the second quarter, the offense, the defense got in sync, and they dominated the Carolina Panthers. We talked about the Miami Dolphins ending up showing strong in a Sunday with a lot of issues around the NFL and a little, we delved into other things, but we focused a lot about the Miami Dolphins with CBS 4's own John Congemi today on the Diva Show with Luby on the 5 Reasons Sports Network.
It's an interesting day all the way around. Let's get right to it, because he has to make his exit about 9 o'clock, so we want to get to the... there he is, man.
There he is.
What's up, guys?
On, John. You're killing us. You're killing us.
I got the tanning bed light going again. Everything's great.
It's not even that. It was yesterday's appearance on CBS post-game show. I happened to come home from the walk of life there. You're already up on the tube. I was assuming the Dolphins were going to run away with this game once they got things rolling. Taped the second half. No need to watch it. Saw the highlights. It was pretty much what you might have anticipated from the start. Although, has that ever happened to you? That was one of the things I remember when I was a kid in Brooklyn. There'd be a guy, usually one of the wise guys, would go up in the projection room and switch out like some cartoon that we were supposed to be watching, and put in Sweat Hog Sluts. And that would play for like a few minutes before the theater manager came in there and strangled the kid and threw us all out of the theater. And it looked that way, like somebody slipped in the wrong movie at the beginning of that Dolphin game.
Yeah, it was weird. The Dolphins kind of started 3 and out, and everybody didn't know what to do on offense, right? It was and then there was another one, and that bizarre play on third and whatever it was, the lateral that almost turns into a scoop and score for Carolina. It was kind of unnecessary, but you figured is it the cat playing with ball of twine and just messing around? It felt like that a little bit in the beginning of the game, but when you go down 14 points in the NFL, sometimes you don't recover from it. But this team seems to be immune to a lot of that stuff because they score with such ease. Yeah. And then the chunk yardage plays just come alive. And it was only a matter of time until that Carolina offensive line imploded, and you started getting pressure on a young quarterback that it hasn't struggled individually, but the whole team has struggled to move the football. So I was impressed with Young against the Dolphins defense for a while there. He threw the ball away when he had to, didn't worry about, burning plays because he had a lead and he was doing the right things. But, it's only so many plays you can hold down Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle and Tua and the running attack of Mostert, and, pick your back of the week next week. He'll probably have a, 150-yard game as well. So the Dolphins caught some wind there late in the first half, and then started to put it on cruise control in the second half.
Yeah, I was going to say, too, when I came home, there you were on a tube, standing there with Cunho, and my wife says, wow, who's that guy on the left, man? He's really handsome, and she's met you many times. I said, that's fucking Congemi, man.
It's actually, it was on TV. I had family over, and my dad was watching it, and I'm like, is that Congemi? I'm like, what the fuck?
I don't know what you're doing, man. It's great,
Jesus.
though, John.
It looks fucking great.
Hey, you know what?
You would baffle a guess your age type of guy. You could go to any carnival and just go away.
I've got 3 people that look exactly like me that I have go around town.
Oh, man, I tell you what. No, it's good. It was nice to see. And, it's always good, to be out there on the home field after a victory like that.
Yeah.
Okay, so things changed a little bit, though, overall in the National Football League yesterday. Perception was that, and we probably were right on this bandwagon, San Francisco, clearly the best team in the league. All of a sudden, McCaffrey injured. He's been injured in the past. I don't know the severity of it. I didn't see any further reports on it. Debo also got banged up in that game. Philadelphia was in the game in the loss against the Jets without their top 2 cornerbacks, and also Jalen Carter was out of that ball game. So that may have impacted them. But their offense is not nearly as swift as it was last year. They don't seem to be dominating on the offensive side like they did in some of their games last year, or most of them for that matter.
Well, I think the Jets had a lot to do with that in terms of their defense has been playing spectacular.
And that's without Sauce Gardner, right?
It's with minus a couple of guys in the secondary. You got to give credit to their defense because they've kept them in most games, other than the Cowboy game that got away from them in Dallas. They've faced some tough quarterbacks. They've faced some tough teams, and I can't believe they're 500.
Yeah.
With all the situation that happened in week 1 with Aaron Rodgers going out after, a handful of plays. So give that side of the football credit, give their offense credit, and Zach Wilson, because he hasn't lost a lot of games. He hasn't looked all that bad. And then San Francisco, I didn't think they'd go into
a
Cleveland
backup quarterback with the Browns
and drop that. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And drop that game. Now, I didn't see hardly any of that game, but just kind of reading about it, I think San Francisco and Philadelphia, there are 2 teams that can get extremely hot, and there are 2 teams that can also not look like they're going to threaten to score 20 points.
Yeah.
You're going to be in a slugfest kind of thing, where there's been one team consistently this year, and even though they lost at Buffalo, the Dolphins seem to score with ease. The way you watch the highlights for the Dolphins, I don't see many highlights around the National Football League. You might see 1 or 2 plays, but you don't see multiple plays that way. I mean, they're just 57 yards, 47 yards, 22 yards with consistency. And it looks so easy because guys are wide open. So if the Dolphins can stay on this track, they've got a leg up on the Bills in terms of they get them at Hard Rock Stadium at the end. And if they can just continue to throw punches, through the Philly KC 4-week slog here, where they go on the road on Sunday night to Philly, they get the sacrificial lamb coming in Bill Belichick next Sunday, Hard Rock Stadium. They travel to Germany, and then they have to play Kansas City, and then they have a bye week. After that bye week, Jalen Ramsey should be ready to go.
Yes, he's supposed to.
It sounds like he's going to be practicing, hopefully, maybe this week or next.
Wow.
So that's going to solidify a little. Even with X going out with a groin injury, at least you've got Kader Kohu, who's played inside and outside. You got Eli Apple as your extra guy now. That's going to really give them depth going down the stretch of the National Football League schedule to when they get to game, 10, 11, 12, 13. They may be healthier than they are right now.
Well, see, my fear, and what I was saying before their 5 straight touchdowns, was this is my only issue with this team is it's boom or bust. Like, they're great at the highlight reel play, the big play, but you don't see them all too often marching down the field, having drives, whether it's McDaniel or Tua. It feels like it's what Matt Mahomes' issue was supposedly 2-3 years ago, and it's why the Bengals won that playoff game, because they forced him to just take what was there instead of going down the field to all his weapons. And then last year he corrected that, and they went and won a Super Bowl. And that is my issue with the Dolphins is, for some of these shitty teams, for lack of a better word, you can get all these big chunk plays. But when you're playing a Niners, when you're playing an Eagles who have really good defense up front and on the back end, can you count on that to win in these better games, let alone playoff games? That's my big question for them.
That's a valid point. I think Mike Cunha, I'm sitting next to him during the game, and he mentioned to me that was the 11th drive that or 11th or 12th drive. I'm trying to draw the number out. It's something like that.
Yeah.
That the Dolphins have scored a touchdown in 3 plays or less.
Yeah.
That's great.
And I'm like, wow, that's awesome, right?
Yeah.
But I wonder how many of those. I don't think there are any against the Bills, and I'm trying to think of some of the other quality teams that they're going to have to play. Now, get wins while you can, get explosive plays while you can, but at some point you're going to have to grind it out and play all right, 4 or 5 plays, got to punt the football away, play field position, play turnovers. You're going to get into a game like that when the weather turns.
Yep.
If you're on the road somewhere, you're not going to have those explosives out there, but take them while you can, because it's actually fun to watch. And I haven't heard Hard Rock Stadium as loud as it's been for the last couple of home games. The fans are getting into it. The fans are digging it, right? You got Tyreek Hill grabbing a phone. He's doing backflips. He's jumping into the stands, giving footballs to his mom. There's a lot of excitement around it, and it's deservedly so, because this team is providing. This team looks like the Greatest Show on Turf did for the Rams so many years ago, and they're creating that atmosphere. I just hope that when they get down to it, that they're going to be able to win ugly.
Yes.
At some point you're going to have to win ugly.
Looks to me like they're capable of doing that just as easily as they've been running away with these spectacular plays. What I like, you're watching Tua, and I don't know that I've made my final decision. Tua obviously is a good quarterback. It's not like he's incapable. He's better this year than he has been in his previous years, and he started out red hot last year. Gets rid of the ball very quickly. Seems to really understand where he's going with it. And it looks like he's called a couple of, I don't know if those were audibles, but when he sees Tyreek Hill on the outside with possible one-on-one coverage, he doesn't hesitate to call for his fly pattern, which is my favorite play. Never mind grinding it out. I'm not with you guys. What do you want? Leather helmets now, too? We finally got to have an exciting, electrifying team. I want to see the ball flying down the field, Johnny.
And you're seeing it. You're definitely seeing it. Tyreek Hill, before the season, he 2,000 yards. I didn't quite get my arms around it. I'm going, maybe Jalen Waddle is going to have a breakout year, because Tyreek Hill is going to have so much attention towards him in terms of coverage and double coverage. But every time he gets that matchup, he just uses his speed and blows by the corner. Tua throws it as high and as far as he can, and Tyreek just kind of runs under it for an easy touchdown. Yeah. And it looks like they're playing 7-on-7, or down the street, go to the Cadillac, take off, and you're gone. And it looks fun to watch. It must be fun to execute, because afterwards you see the guys celebrating, and they did another team celebration in the end zone.
That was a good one. Well choreographed.
That was a good one. So
I don't know that they could top that shuffle dance that they were doing.
No, that was pretty good.
That was one of my favorites ever. Yeah, you had the Icky shuffle going. But it was with like a dozen guys. It was, sort of combining a lot of elements from previous touchdown celebrations. They were talking, I guess somebody was asking about it, and this probably was posed a few times, but Mostert was talking about it after the game. He was saying that, that's part of the things they've incorporated into practice, and that's a good sign. And you know what? We've talked to Raheem Mostert, because he's Brett Tessler's client, and he was good enough to get him on our show, with a little local exclusive when he won the MVP in the NFC Championship game. Came on our show, and the guy just seemed like a quiet, humble, matter of fact, almost like a happier version of Kawhi Leonard in his interviews, where the guy wasn't saying much, but he seems genuinely like euphoric about being on this team. So this is cliche city here, John, but team chemistry with this group, as indicated, with some of these touchdown dances, and not like other teams don't do it, but they really do seem to be like kind of a selfless bunch that is out there having a really good time playing football, which is what you would hope to see. I don't know that you can do it in any better fashion than to, be out there and actually enjoying yourself as you're playing, instead of feeling this immense pressure.
Yeah, when you're winning, it's really easy to do that, and it's unbelievable. And hopefully, this team doesn't have to face too much adversity to challenge that issue, because I think that is genuine. I don't think it's made up. I think
It
this
looks
team
like
really
it.
likes to
Yeah.
be around each other. They like to be around practice. They like to compete against each other to make each other better. And to your point about Raheem Mostert, spent a lot of time with Raheem in terms of getting to know him, playing golf, seeing him at the golf course. Went to his
Is he a good
charity.
golfer?
Yeah, I don't know, because I was in another group. We were, kind of eight people, and he was in one group and I was in the other. But we got to hang out after, and he had a charity event last week at a bowling alley for a bunch of kids, and he seems just genuine. He's just
Yes.
a good person, and he works hard, and it's showing on the field, because he's been one of the most explosive running backs in the National Football League this year, and he can do everything. So he's kind of like your bell cow. A Chan, and if Jeff Wilson gets an opportunity, or Ahmed, or Brooks, it's kind of interchangeable. But the one constant has been Mostert, and I think the Dolphins need him to stay healthy.
It's a really interesting story, which Luby and I have been, fortunate to follow, because this kind of stuff I love about sports, and I would imagine a lot of people do too. You talk about down and out. I mean, the guy got cut 7 times. At some point, you're thinking Tesler might have said to him, and Tesler's been with him from the start. So it's probably not an easy position to be in, where your client keeps saying, "Hey, what the fuck, man?" I mean, how many times can this happen to me? And you're almost tempted to hand him a copy of the classifieds, but and then he's had devastating injuries also.
Yeah.
I mean, stuff that would really impair. We've seen how many times where running backs are not the same after injuries, no matter how talented they were before, and no matter how efficient and great the medical science is now with orthopedics, and we see guys coming back from all kinds of stuff. In fact, didn't it look like Aaron Rodgers was going to take a couple of snaps last night?
Yeah, he's standing up on the sidelines, no crutches, throwing the football
Throwing a
pre-game.
football, yeah. I mean, thinking, this is kind of like when they had that secret phone video of Peyton Manning was supposedly throwing a football at some high school in the bayou, and nobody could really make it out. You didn't know if it was like a Bigfoot sighting or it was Peyton Manning. And everybody got all excited, that he was coming back, which he eventually did. I guess, supposedly, I mean, the word constantly has been surfacing that Rodgers may, return if the Jets were a postseason factor, which is still hard to imagine they would be. But nonetheless, that's a pretty remarkable recovery. But yeah, Mostert's come back from like devastating injuries and appears to be better than he ever was. I mean,
the best thing, Defo, about Mostert this year is it's hard to look faster when you're really fast, but he looks stronger, and he's getting so many yards after first contact that he probably hadn't had a lot in his career. And I think it's due to his off season. He really came into this season jacked up and ready to go. And he's a hard tackle in the open field, because not only is he quick, he's fast, and he gets to top speed in a couple of strides. And he's a one-cut runner. So once he makes that cut, he's downhill. Man, you better take a good angle on him and get a good piece of him, because if not, he's probably going to break that arm tackle or break that initial first contact and continue at top end speed.
Yeah.
On that big run he had yesterday, he hit the hole, and he got hit probably 5 yards beyond the line of scrimmage, but spun out of it. Then all of a sudden regained his balance, and he was at top end speed within 2 or 3 strides, and they barely caught him inside the 5-yard line. But that was 40 yards ago, right? He was gone. So
he had that Tommy Fox acceleration that you used to anticipate. He would just put it up, throw it as far as you could, knowing that Fox was going to accelerate right under it, and make the catch as he blew by a defensive back at the last second. It was great. All right, John Congemi with us. It's the Pigskin Playbook. The Dolphins looking real good. They also find themselves landing at their 2.5-point dogs on the road to Philadelphia in the opening line. Philadelphia not looking that great. They lose to the Jets yesterday after being up 14-3. They don't score again in the game, and maybe I don't know how long these injuries are going to be impeding the defensive backs, but that would certainly be a concern if you were playing Tua, and you would definitely want Jalen Carter in there if you were Philadelphia. So they may just have caught the Eagles at the perfect time, which is why it's so difficult, John, before the season to go, well, that's a win, that's a loss, that's a loss, that's a win.
Yeah.
Because the circumstances couldn't be more favorable for taking on this road game.
Well, how many teams do you think yesterday, guys, that had you're in one of those
survivor pool,
survivor pools, right?
Oh, so God, what is this?
The Giants and the Bills had to be a huge one, right? The Rams and Arizona, you squeak one out if you got the Rams over Arizona, and then that game against the Eagles. I mean,
Jets? Are you kidding me with that?
Yeah. Who are you picking,
right?
The
Jets beating Philly straight up. That would have been a much more likely proposition than the Cleveland Browns with a backup quarterback.
Yeah.
I don't even like him with Deshaun Watson quarterback, and he hasn't really done anything to distinguish himself, since he's come back. In fact, that's starting to look like. That could be our new example about what's more overrated, Deshaun Watson or the Stone Crab, instead of Bryce Harper, since Harper finds himself as a key catalyst of all the success Philly's enjoying in these last couple of postseasons.
Yeah, so far so good for the Miami Dolphins. Yeah, they looked like garbage against the Buffalo Bills, who have since looked like garbage 2 weeks in a row. The Bills were able to salvage a win against the Giants, but it felt like a loss after going across the pond and losing to the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Miami Dolphins struggled early against the Panthers, got down 14-0, but Tua put on his cape, Hill, Mostert put on their capes, and they went and pummeled the young, trying to be an upstart Carolina Panthers. Tua looked really good. Tyreek Hill looked great. Raheem Mostert at 31 years old is jumping over human beings inside the 10-yard line as the Dolphins were able to go and score 6 touchdowns, winning 42-21. The defense was a joke in the first quarter, but woke up and was fantastic in the second quarter on. Offense, again, was also a joke in the first quarter. Was great second quarter on. Very, very, very exciting group, the Miami Dolphins. Right now, as good as any team in the NFL. They do have to get over that Buffalo hump, but they will have the Buffalo Bills down here in South Florida to end this near the end of the season. They do head up to Philadelphia. The North is getting colder. They will take on the Eagles, who suffered a tough loss to the AFC East New York Jets. So they'll probably be a little bit more focused for the Dolphins. It's fine. We'll see what happens. The Dolphins are right now, again, as good as anyone. Really excited to see what they have going forward. The Canes suffered a tough one, took one on the chin after the mess versus Georgia Tech the week before. This weekend, they went up to North Carolina, got a lead going into halftime, and then were demolished in the second half. Yeah, the score was only a 10-point margin, but North Carolina got up by 3 touchdowns and sort of pulled off the gas when there was really not enough time for the Canes to come back. And the Canes now will take on Clemson. Yeah, it's not the same Clemson, but it's a Clemson team that the Canes aren't really probably looking forward to seeing after their struggles the last 2 weeks. 2 weeks after starting 4-0. So we'll see what goes on with the Canes. Around college football, around the NFL, it was very interesting. The Niners take their first loss. The Eagles, like I said, took their first loss. The Bills almost lost to the Giants. And we saw our Miami Dolphins look great. College football. The Georgia Bulldogs struggle with Vanderbilt. Brock Bowers, their all-world tight end, got hurt, missed a lot of that game, and that's probably what led to a lot of their struggles. He is now going to be out a while. He's having surgery. So there actually isn't even a time for when he's coming back. So that's not good if you're a Georgia fan. Alabama struggles with Arkansas. Michigan had a nice, easy win, but they played no one. They have yet to play a ranked team. They won't play a ranked team, period, until they take on Penn State in the middle of November. So they're sort of getting a cakewalk. Ohio State had a nice, easy victory. And Florida State, my Seminoles, struggled a little early versus Syracuse as they couldn't get the ball in the friggin' end zone, but went on to romp Syracuse. They take on a big match for them this weekend as they welcome a top 20 Duke Blue Devil team to Tallahassee. We will be here. We will talk all things South Florida sports. If you want to check out all the things we do each and every morning, check us out on South Florida Live, The Defo Show with Luby. Check out our national podcast, our national more. We do sports, but outside of sports, I have a lot of interesting conversations. I talked with Ed Begley Jr. last week, talked with more actors this past week. We have more and more coming, so check out the Believe Network, BLEAV.com. Search After Hours. Each and every day, we're also doing a national thing with No Filter. It's about 15, 20 minutes each and every day on nofilter.net, the morning briefing, or also Caffeine TV. Go to Caffeine TV and search The Morning Briefing, or on Google The Morning Briefing, and hear our South Florida sports, South Florida opinions right here. The Devo Show with the Luby on the 5 Reasons Sports Network.
From the newly renovated sports bar to the beautiful bayside views captured at the Tiki Bar, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill has it all. Located at mile marker 104, the Big Chill also offers waterfront dining while experiencing breathtaking sunset views of the Florida Keys. It's simply the hottest spot in the Keys to cool off. That's Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill at mile marker 104 in Key Largo. For more information, call today at 305-453-9066.
These days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in Plantation, because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. First of all, they're not only open for delivery and pickup. All you have to do is go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both pickup and free delivery. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers, Raw Bar, and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. Thank goodness for Landlubbers for making you always feel right at home.